Hello YouTube, it's Opposite Irony. I'm here to show you my LunaLight deck profile. Sorry I didn't really post a video within the past week. I recently got hired in a new job, so I've been trying to work with my work schedule there. But I think I got it under control now, so I should be a lot more consistent with my uploads from here on out. But this is just a very budget, cool deck that I wanted to show you guys. I'm not playing like a bunch of crazy staples or anything. I'm not playing like a competitive build of this deck. This is literally just a very budget build. Like I bought this deck for around between $20 to $30. I don't remember the exact number, but I know for a fact it was less than $30. This deck is really cheap. So I'm just gonna show you like the cards that I play to make this like very budget deck, and despite it being very budget, it can put up a lot of damage. It's very OTK heavy. If you like fusion decks that have a lot of like aggressive potential, then like this is the deck that I think you'll really enjoy. I like it a lot. I'm a very big fan of Gem Knights, and this reminds me a lot of Gem Knights because Gem Knights are very OTK heavy as well. This just summons a bunch of fusion monsters and then just does like 14,000 damage. Like, it's really, really good. But without further ado, I'm gonna get right into it. For starters, I played Triple Kaleido Chick. This card is so dang good. I didn't play LunaLights before Kaleido Chick came out, and I'm not even sure how people played it, the deck, before Kaleido Chick came out. That's just how good this card is. Basically, once per turn, you can send a LunaLight monster from extra deck or grave, or you send a LunaLight monster from extra deck or deck to the grave as cost, so your opponent can't even ash that. And even if they veil or imprint it, you're still going to send it from extra deck or deck to the graveyard. So it's just a very good effect. But the actual effect of that is that if you use this card as fusion material, this card's name could be treated as that sent monster's name, which is really good because all the fusion monsters in LunaLights basically kind of build into each other. Like Cat Dancer or Panther Dancer needs Cat Dancer, and then Leo Dancer needs Panther Dancer. So you can send Panther Dancer with a Kaleido Chick. This becomes Panther Dancer, and then you could basically cheat out Leo Dancer a lot easier that way. That's not hard on return either, so if you can revive this card multiple times, you can resolve this effect multiple times as well. And then if this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you get to recycle a polymerization. That effect is hard once per turn, but that's still an amazing effect. And then if it's banished, you basically make your opponent not be able to activate card effects during the battle phase, which isn't as relevant anymore because battle phase traps aren't really a thing anymore, but you can like turn down floating effects and things like that. So it's really good. I think overall that card's like very, very solid. Next I play Triple Emerald Bird. Basically if it's summoned, you send a LunaLight monster from hand to the graveyard, and if you do, you get to draw a card. And the reason why that's really good is because you can kind of set up graveyard. You can send a LunaLight Perfume to the grave to get its graveyard effect. You can send Kaleido Chick or Yellow Martin to the graveyard to get its the effect it gets when it's sent to the graveyard by card effect. And you also kind of fix your hand by drawing an extra card. Sometimes that extra card is all you need to continue your plays. And on top of that, if this card is sent to the graveyard by card effect as well, you can target a level 4 or lower LunaLight monster that's banished or in the graveyard, and then you special summon it with its effects negated. But that's still a really good card because you can make cool rank 4 plays with it, and you also kind of recycle your resources so you can continue fusion summoning a lot easier. So I think it's really, really good. The next card I play is Triple LunaLight Yellow Martin. I know back then in like early 2020 or like late 2019, I don't remember exactly when it was. I think this was the card that got LunaLight Tiger like banned. I think, I'm not too sure. I didn't play LunaLights back then. But I just know the Yellow Martin's really good. Basically, if it's in the hand or graveyard, you could target a LunaLight, any LunaLight card you control, bounce it back to hand, and special summon this card from a graveyard or from your hand if it was there. And the reason why that's really good is because you can make rank 4 plays really easy that way, or it's just extra like fusion material, because like if you fuse it from hand, you can then bring it back again and use it as fusion material again. The only thing is that it gets banished when it leaves the field after you do that effect, but if it is sent from the graveyard by a card effect, you get to search for any LunaLight spell or trap, which is also really good. So this can potentially search for your LunaLight fusion, and then you just progress your plays from there. So overall, like, these are like the main 3 that are like really, really good. The rest are good too, but they're kind of just like to help get these out, to like help them make their plays. Next, I play 2 LunaLight Blue Cat and 1 LunaLight Crimson Fox. Basically, these just help you put more damage on board at the end of the day. LunaLight Blue Cat is that if it's special summoned, you target any LunaLight monster you control, its attack is double for the turn. So you can make Leo damage for like 7,000 attack and just OTK very, very easily. And if it's destroyed by battle or card effect, it floats into any LunaLight monster from your deck, which is really nice. Crimson Fox is the opposite. If it's sent to the graveyard by card effect, you target a monster your opponent controls, makes its attack 0, which is still really good. It's easier to resolve, so that's why I only play as a 1-of. And you can also just push for more damage that way as well. And what it does is that when a card or effect is activated that targets a LunaLight monster you control, you can quick effect banish this card from the graveyard, negate the activation, and if you do, both player gains 1,000, which is really, really good. Because if you're like mid combo and you have this card in your graveyard somehow, whether you discarded it with Emerald Bird, or if you send it to the graveyard with like Kaleido Chick or LunaLight Fusion, and your opponent like imprims you or veilers you, like mid combo, you can just banish it and negate it. And because it's in the graveyard, your opponent kind of forgets it's there, so you can kind of just surprise them that way. I think it's a good 1-of. That's just me. Those ratios, I guess you can mess with. I just say I'm just pretty happy with them. Next, I play triple LunaLight Purple Butterfly. I should play this at 2, but I like this card at 3. I'm really happy to see if I do draw it. It's a really, really good card. Basically, you can send it from hand or field to the grave to make something get 1,000. So you can make Leo Dancer like 4,500. That just makes it do more damage. But the main reason why you play it is because if it's in the graveyard, you could banish it from the grave to special any LunaLight from your hand with their effects intact, which is really, really good. And the fact that you can use both effects the same turn, you can use the second effect the same turn is sent to the graveyard. And the thing with this deck is that it's very combo heavy, and you have to really dedicate to your normal summon. Like, to get your plays going, you have to normal summon something and just try to go off from there and snowball. But if, like, let's say for example, like you're very reliant on Kaleido Chick, but if you and to like make your plays a lot smoother, you need access to Kaleido Chick. But if you get Kaleido Chick after your normal summon, it's really hard to summon it. But Purple Butterfly like fixes that. Just like a very small example would be like if you have like Emerald Bird and like Yellow Martin, you could like normal summon Emerald Bird, send Yellow Martin, effect get the free draw too, and then affecting Yellow Martin, you're gonna go ahead and get LunaLight Fusion. Then you can bounce something back if you have something to summon Yellow Martin back. Make a rank 4, make Tiger King, affect Tiger King, get 10 key, activate 10 key, get Kaleido Chick, activate LunaLight Fusion, send something from like hand, and then send like Purple Butterfly from deck to the graveyard, and then affect the Purple Butterfly in grave, banish it, summon Kaleido Chick, affect the Kaleido Chick, send Panther Dancer, and then you just keep going from there. And that's why I think Purple Butterfly is a really, really good card, because if you don't have access to something right then and there, you can still summon it later in your combo by just banishing from the graveyard. I think it's really good. Next, for one of the best LunaLight cards in the deck, LunaLight Black Sheep. This card is so good. I have to constantly keep rereading this card because I keep thinking all the effects are like once per turn. None of the effects are once per turn. Like there's borderline almost no restriction on this card, just for the fact that like its graveyard recursion effects, it just can't retrieve itself, but it's still like an insane card. Basically, if it's in the hand, you can discard it to either add a LunaLight from grave to hand, or you can add Poly from deck to hand. So this gets you Poly, and the thing with this deck, it's kind of like Gem Knights, where their biggest weakness is basically not having access to a fusion spell. At least Gem Knights, like, as long as they have access to one, they can just pop off. This one you kind of have to have access to multiple, or at least get recursion with that fusion spell, like with Kaleido Chick's graveyard effect. But this just searches for it, which is really, really good. And on top of that, if it's also used as fusion material and sent to the graveyard, you can also get any LunaLight monster from the graveyard and add it back to the hand too. So like there's like no downside to this card at all. It just gives you free resources for just being there. So I think this is an easy, definite 3-of. And then the next LunaLight monster I play, 2 LunaLight White Rabbit. This is like, I think, the like worst LunaLight that I play. The one that is very situational, doesn't come up as often as I'd like it to. But it's still a really good card. It's just probably like the worst one out of all of them. It has made me like win games that I shouldn't have, but the way it works is just very like niche. And it kind of goes with the explanation that I did with like Purple Butterfly, because its effect is that when this card is normal summon, you target a LunaLight in grave, and then you special in defense with their effects intact. The problem with that is that it's specifically on normal summon. So if there's a card in graveyard, like, how do I explain it? Like, unless you do this like later in the turn, you're not getting any mileage out of it. Because it's not like you're gonna go first, normal summon White Rabbit, and special something from the get go. Like, you have to have something in grave, you know. So unless you start fusion summoning or sending stuff from deck to grave or hand to grave somehow, you're not gonna get any like mileage out of this. So that's the same thing with Purple Butterfly, where like you have to commit to your normal summon, and this is not a very commitment worthy normal summon monster. But there are times where like this does come in clutch, because you do fusion summon, and then you do summon this, and then you can get like a Kaleido Chick second effect somehow. It is a really good card. But I can understand people taking it out or not playing it at all, in my opinion. Next, for the last LunaLight monster I play Triple LunaLight Wolf. This is also one of the best cards because it's a level 6 Pendulum. Its monster effect is that it just gives LunaLight monsters piercing, which isn't bad. You can summon it off Purple Butterfly really easy. But the main reason why it's so good is that its Pendulum effect is that once per turn you can fusion summon a LunaLight fusion monster by banishing the materials from field or grave. So it's literally a miracle fusion for LunaLights in the form of a Pendulum. That is a soft once per turn, but the reason why that's good is because you can activate it, fusion summon with its effect, and then bounce it back with Yellow Martin's effect, and then, you know, fusion summon with Yellow Martin again, and then you could like activate Wolf again and fusion summon again. And the fact that Kaleido Chick and LunaLight Fusion send monsters from the extra deck to the graveyard, this makes it so that you can use those same monsters to fusion summon the bigger LunaLight Fusion monsters from the extra deck, as long as they're in the graveyard. And that's another reason why Kaleido Chick is so good, because it sends those monsters from the extra deck to the graveyard, and then you can just cheat out Leo Dancer a lot easier because of LunaLight Wolf. So I think this card is very, very good, and it's usually the main target that I search for with LunaLight Perfume. The last monster I play is a 1 Performer Pal Trump Witch. Again, this deck is heavily reliant on like polymerization and just getting access to, or just being able to fusion summon, period. This basically makes it so that its Pendulum effect is that you can just fusion summon specifically with your monsters on the field. That has actually come up a few times, because I needed to fusion summon on the field with, like, you know, with things on field. I ran out of polymerizations. I had this in hand, activated it, fusion summon again, easy fusion summon. Its on-field effect, like monster effect, is that you contribute it to add a poly. So if you don't need to commit to your normal summon, or if you have access to you know, Purple Butterfly and Grave, where you can special summon that monster you would normally normal summon, you could commit to this one and then just tribute it to get that poly if you really, really need to. So I think it's just a decent one. It just helps you get poly, or just to help you fusion summon at the end of the day, which I think is very, very important. Next, for the spells that I play Triple LunaLight Fusion. This card is like really, really good. It's basically like a mini Shaddoll fusion. You fusion summon any LunaLight fusion monsters by using monsters from your hand or field. But if your opponent controls a monster that was special summoned from the extra deck, you can use one monster from your deck or extra deck as one of the materials. Only one, but honestly that's all you need, because you can just send Panther Dancer and then 2 other LunaLights, and you make Leo Dancer, which is like the main goal of the deck. Or you can send any LunaLight from your deck to the graveyard, anything that you need in the graveyard, whether that's Yellow Martin or Purple Butterfly, or if you want Kaleido Chick in there so you can revive it with Perfume. Whatever you need, this basically gets it, which is really, really good. The only thing is that this is a hard once per turn effect. You can only activate 1 LunaLight Fusion per turn, and that's precisely why I play Triple Polymerization as well. You want to fusion summon as many times as possible and have as many cards to be able to facilitate that. That's why I play 3 poly. Like, you want to see as much as possible. You want to have access to it as much as possible. And even though Kaleido Chick does recycle it, I just want to see it as much as possible. That's just my philosophy around this deck. Yeah, those are the fusion spells that I play. The next card I play, arguably one of the best cards in the deck, but also one of the worst because of its name. LunaLight Perfume. This card's so damn good, but the problem with it is that, for example, Yellow Martin searches specifically when it's sent to the graveyard by card effect. It searches for a LunaLight spell or trap, but it searches for LunaLight, as in like LunaLight one word. But LunaLight Perfume is 2 words, Luna space light, which is so bad because this card's amazing, but the fact that it's not searchable like makes the deck like it like blue balls it. I swear, I want to search this so much, but like I just like you just can't. You just have to hard draw it. But nonetheless, this card's insane. Basically, nothing about this effect is once per turn. Like, you can activate multiple of them, you can activate both effects the same turn, and you can activate multiple of them per turn. On activation, you target a LunaLight engraved, you special summon it, all effects intact, it could be in attack position, it's basically an archetype monster reborn. And then while it's in the graveyard, you could banish it, discard any card, and then add any LunaLight monster from deck to hand. So you can add a Black Sheep if you need Poly, you can add a LunaLight Wolf, and then fusion summon even further. You can add Kaleido Chick, you can add literally anything, and that's why this card is so damn good. I think that's a definite 3 of. Next I play 1 Tenki. It's Tenki. I think that's self-explanatory. 2 Pot of Desires. You don't play that many like drawing cards in here, and this helps you just get the cards you need to help you like OTK a lot easier. And because you play a lot of 3-ofs, you're okay with banishing a lot of the copies of your 3-ofs because you only need access to 1 of them, and you just constantly keep recycling them, or their effects are once per turn, so it doesn't really matter. So like even if I banish 2 Kaleido Chick, as long as I'm able to get that 3rd Kaleido Chick, I'm fine. I'm like in a very good spot. So that's why I play 2. I think 3 is a little too bricky. I don't want to Pot of Desires into another Pot of Desires, but activating the 1 and having it resolve, like it helps push for game a lot easier. Next I play 1 Monster Reborn and then 1 Harpy's Feather Duster. This is like literally the most expensive card of the deck. This is like what, $3-4, but everything else is like cents. But yeah, they're just staples. Next for the traps, I play 2 LunaLight Reincarnation Dance. Really good card. I just don't use it that often. I can honestly take this out for like actual decent staples like hand traps, but again, this is a budget build. Basically, if a monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, activate this and you get to search up to 2 LunaLight monsters from deck to hand. Really good effect, especially if you're playing a grind game, or if you can't kill your opponent right then and there, or if you just brick. This basically gets access to any 2 LunaLight monsters, which, like, as long as you get the right ones, like, you can almost win if your opponent doesn't stop you. So that's why I think this is a really good card. It's just in the form of a trap, which is not as good, but it doesn't stop the fact that it's still a really good card. That's it for the main deck. For the extra deck, as I play triple LunaLight Cat Dancer. I'm not even 100% sure what this card does on the field. I don't really summon it and use the effect. I just use this as a building block because Panther Dancer needs this card specifically. I just know it's a worse version of Panther Dancer. That's all I know. But it's the most generic one. It's 2 LunaLight monsters to make it. I think it just can't be destroyed by battle, and you need to tribute something to use its effect, but it's not that good. You just use this basically to build into Panther Dancer and then respectively Leo Dancer as well. Which, speaking of which, 2 LunaLight Panther Dancer. This card's actually good, where it can't be destroyed by card effects, and you can activate this effect during the main phase where it can attack all monsters you control, all monsters your opponent controls twice each. And the first time each monster your opponent controls will be destroyed by battle, it's not. So you can basically go like attack, do damage, okay, cool, attack it again, do more damage. And then its other effect is that if it kills something by battle, it gains 200 attack for the turn. So it gets stronger, attack something again, do damage, attack something again, do damage. It gets stronger, attack, and you kind of see like the pattern with it. It's just to like do a lot of damage in a short amount of time. It's not a bad card. It's not your main OTK enabler, but it can definitely help. And the fact that it's just immune by card effects really helps as well too. And then I play 2 LunaLight Saber Dancer. This one I don't really summon as much, and I can honestly play this as a one-of, but I just had the space, so I put a second one in. Basically, needs 3 LunaLight monsters. It gains 200 attack for each LunaLight monster in grave or that is banished. So it could become really big, but that's basically all it does. It can't be targeted. which is nice. But if it's in the graveyard, except the turn it's sent there, you could banish it, target a LunaLight you control, it gains 3,000, which is cool, but it just doesn't, it's not that great. But if you do have the materials and the resources for it, you could make it, and at the end of your combo, you should have like a lot of stuff in banish or grave. So this thing can get really big, assuming you have the materials for it. But it's not a bad card nonetheless. And for the main card, the main gimmick, the main like goal of the deck, double LunaLight Leo Dancer. This card is so dang good. Basically, it's 3,500 tech, so it's the biggest base stat one. It can be targeted or destroyed by card effects, which is really good. It has Saber Dancers and Panther Dancers of protection effects. It can attack twice per battle phase, and at the end of the damage step after it attacked, you can just destroy all special summon monster your opponent controls. So it just borderline, board wipes your opponent. And that's why it's just, this deck is like very OTK heavy, because you can summon like both of them, attack, do damage, effect, blow everything up, attack for 35 again, attack for 35, attack for 35, and that's like game. And it's not that hard to summon both of them, considering that you can send Panther Dancer from extra deck to the graveyard, and then with LunaLight Wolf, it's basically a Miracle Fusion. It's very easy to summon the second one after you summon the first one. That's why this deck is very OTK heavy. And the next card is just kind of to help facilitate plays, or just like to help in specific situations. I play one Tiger King just to help you get 10 key if you need it. It basically just helps you search, and it's not that hard to make. I also play one Utopia Prime, and then one Utopia Lightning. Again, just to help OTK easier. It becomes 5,000 if it attacks a monster, and against monsters that have floating effects, or against monsters that have like battle phase effects, this kind of just kills them very easily because they can't activate anything when it attacks. So it just helps push for extra damage. Same thing with one Dark Rebellion. If you want to make a rank 4 but also want the materials in the graveyard, this is really good because it attaches 2, and as well as making something weaker so you do more damage when you attack with it, like if you attack Leo Dancer with it. And this gets more attacks, so you do more damage in the grand scheme of things. So this is just a decent card all in all. And then for the last extra deck monster I play, just one Firefighting Daruma Doll, just because it can get bigger. It is spell and trap removal with its effect. You basically scrap dragon spell and traps you control with your opponents, and then if it kills something by battle, you get to recycle something back. So it's not bad. It's a decent card. Yeah, it's mainly just the fusion monsters, and the rest are just there to kind of help. But yeah, that's the entire deck. Excuse my apologies if this deck profile is longer than it needs to be. But yeah, that's the entire LunaLight deck. Again, very, very cheap, good budget deck, especially if you're getting into Yu-Gi-Oh! It's a very combo heavy deck, but if you want to learn the concept of like combo decks, I think this is a very good deck to start off with. As well as if you really like fusion summoning, this is like a very good deck that does it very easily as well. But yeah, I just wanted to show you my budget build, my budget LunaLight deck profile. I'm gonna try to get another deck profile going later this week. But yeah, without further ado, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.